Okay, everyone. This is basically the continuation of the previous video, where we talked about when to get interested in a particular trade. But we're going to name this as the test phase because we're going to talk as we discussed the test phase in the previous video. We're going to talk about different variations on the test phase. Um, in this video, we're gonna try and find examples on all of those variations that we're going to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about one more thing to combine with the logic and the concept of the test phase. Okay, that is going to be about the overall picture of a specific trade. All right, okay, keep this in mind. Whatever we're going to talk about right now, it's not a 100% given that the market is bound to do exactly that. So, what I want you guys to understand is I don't want you to get into the drawings or the patterns of what I'm talking about. I want you to get into the logic of why specific patterns show up on the charts, right? I want you guys to understand the logic of it instead of just trying to find a pattern on the charts, okay? So, we're going to talk about different test phases. So, let's begin here. Now, let's talk about an uptrend. Um, the market is making higher highs and high lows, and then it starts to pull back. It's pulling back. It's pulling back. It's pulling back on your trading time frame. Comes to an area of interest. The possibility of your higher time frame coming back, right? This is not 100% your higher time frame coming back. This is the possibility of, is he back, right? We've done everything else. We've figured out the direction. We've waited for the price to come down to a lower, a point of interest. We've marked our lower territories, and we see this, right? Okay, so a couple things I want you guys to keep an eye on. Uh, as we discussed about the point of interest in this area is probably somewhere in here. Someone tried to sell and got immediately round-footed, right? The where the money is stuck, or the demand zone, or that little bit of selling that happened before the massive buy took place. So what I want you guys to try and look for is the same logic, the same concept of someone tried to sell in here, got wrong footed. The same should be happening here. Someone should try to sell in here with this resistance, and he should get wrong footed. So, what you're looking for then is, as we've discussed about the fractal nature of the markets, what you're looking for is the price to come down, maybe put in a higher low, or it should at least react from this area where someone sold and got wrong footed. If it goes through this, right? Because the logic of all of this is, in this big buy, the sellers are putting in their territories, so keep selling, and then it couldn't sell again from this resistance, and then it went through, right? So then the buy that you see happen before, I'm sorry, after the little bit of selling that happens in there is the buy you're looking for. So if you do not get a reaction from here, there's a 90 or 80% chance that the test is going to fail. It's not a necessity that the test is going to hold, because you don't 100% know what the markets are going to do, right? What we do is we look at the past receipts and then we try to act off of them, right? So let's clear this a little bit and get into it again. So somewhere in here where the last bit of seller came in, tried to continue for the lower high, lower low sequence, failed, there would be a buy in here starting somewhere in here, going all the way up to there, challenging the previous seller's territory. So you want to see a higher low, if not, at least a reaction from this area. It could be down there too. A reaction from this area and then another test. Okay, why another test? Why do we look for two tests? As we discussed in the previous video, if this buyer wants to make money, he wants to turn people to the sell side before he starts to buy with bigger positions. So as your stop loss is under there, if you're getting in somewhere here, uh, there's a fair chance that the price is going to come down, take your stop loss, and then go again. It must have happened to a lot of you that the price takes your stop loss and then turns around, right? So this is variation number one. Let's talk about another variation here. So at times what will happen is, okay, as we've discussed before, that in an uptrend you want to have sellers to come in and then the buy is going to happen, right? So let's talk about the next variation in here. The price is making higher highs and high lows. It starts to come down, tries to go higher, fails, tries to go down again, comes to a point of interest and comes back. Okay, so this phenomena that I've just drawn, we'll talk about it in the same video in a bit. Okay, just don't get confused. I'm talking about the different variations on the test phases. Now, if it looks something like this, there's a fair chance that the price is going to test once somewhere in this area and it'll start to go higher. Why? Because if it's, let me just draw something right next to it. Hold on. Okay. If it's coming down, it's putting in lower highs and lower low sequences, and it goes higher, everyone is still looking to buy on this time frame. Why? On your higher time frame. Why? Because it's just been coming down for lower highs and lower lows, but it hasn't broken any support equal resistance on the higher time frame. Hence, everyone in the higher time frame is still looking to buy, right? So when this time frame tries to buy off of here, the price comes down, takes out the stop losses, and then goes higher. Two different scenarios, right? And in the second one, the one we drawn earlier, if it has come down once, went higher, and then it had gone down, it's basically going through a support equals resistance on the higher time frame, which means the higher time frame has brought in the sellers already. So there's a fair chance that it's just going to test once and then it's going to go because it's so aggressive, right? So this phenomena we're going to talk about in a bit again. Okay, now another variation of the test phase is going to be something like this, where we discussed yesterday that the price is going higher and then we're coming down and down and we come to a point of interest and we put in a higher low. I'm sorry, a higher high, right? Where we're coming down in lower high, lower low sequence, we're pulling back and then we go through. Instead of challenging it, we go through it, right? So then there's a fair chance that, again, applying the same concept of where this seller was holding, it was his territory. As you kept marking your territories, it was his territory. As long as we're below this, we're not looking to buy. We're not looking to buy. But as it goes through this and closes above, there's a fair chance that somewhere in here, someone thinking of this as a resistance would have hit a sell, no? Exactly the same way as someone would have hit a sell here, where we wait for the point of interest and all. So there's a fair chance that the price is going to test this once or twice and go higher. It's not going to come all the way down where your bigger time frame comes back and then take out the stop losses, right? Because the direction of the money basically completely shifted when you broke through this, broke your structure, whatever you want to call it, right? And also a fair chance that it can just test once and go. So it's up to you if you want to take a chance in this area where the first test is coming in. Of course, how we determine if we're going to take a chance on the first test is by looking at the momentum on a lower time frame. Okay, now be very careful, be very focused, listen carefully on what I'm going to tell you right now. So your 60 minutes is a buyer that might look something like this. And then your 15 minutes is looking something like this, right? Okay, if you get confused, ask the question. I'll explain it again and again and again. We're there for you in the chat group, okay? So do not get confused. Now we're going to bring in another time frame. Initially, we were working with 60 and 15. Now, after you have, a feeling by looking at the price action, of course, not just by listening to your heart, by looking at the price action, once you realize that this could be my bigger boy coming back, my bigger buyer coming back, what you want to do is what I personally do, and this is advanced stuff, so you got to pay a lot of attention. I go down to one more time frame. So once my 60 minutes buyer is back along with the 15 minutes buyer where I'm reading my pullbacks, I start to treat it as a 15 minutes, 3 minutes trade instead of a 60 minutes, 15 minutes trade. Sorry. So what you're doing now is you're reading your 15 minutes where you want to see your 60 minutes buyer come back. It might get a little confusing, but stay focused. What you want to do now is you want to treat this as 15 minutes as your bigger boy instead of 60 minutes, and 3 minutes as your trading time frame instead of 15 minutes. So now you're down to 3 minutes and you're comparing the momentum of this move up with the move that is coming down. If it's coming down slowly, you look for an area of interest. I personally do take a chance on first test. It's because of late markets have been, really desperate, to be honest. So stop losses go below this. We'll talk about the take profits and stop losses and the entries in the next video. What we're going to talk about today is how do you read the test. So you're down to 3 minutes then, and you're waiting for the same thing to happen all over again. As we've discussed before, markets are fractal in nature. What you want to do is you want to go through the same process of buy, it's pulling back, the buyer's back, and now you want to go through the same process of, okay, the buyer's back, and I'm taking it on the 3 minutes. Let's do some quick examples on this, and then we'll discuss the second phenomenon that I wanted to talk about. Okay, gonna remove all of these drawings. Gonna get to where the charts are. Okay, there we go. Okay, do not just forget about what time frame it is at the moment, right? Just it is 6 to 40 minutes, but consider that this is a 60 minutes chart, right? So the buy started from here or down here, arguably, because went through all of this. The buy starts, goes all the way to there. As long as you're above this, you're not looking to sell, right? and then you're one time frame lower, and you're reading the pullbacks. Okay, you're marking your lower territories, your smaller territories, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, I'm going to explain this to you with the logic. So keep in mind the logic of what we're going to talk about. All right, here we go. Uh, so this is overall in an uptrend. We've determined that. We start to mark our lower time frame territories. The price tries to go higher, fakes out, comes back inside, still inside this until this sharp move happens, right? This sharp move happens, the market looks like it's turning into a sell, but because we know that our bigger time frame is still a buy, we do not get in on a sell. At any point in time, can you figure out that if the sell has convincingly gone through this area? No, right? It comes down, it rejects, comes down again, rejects again. Hold on, let me just make it a little neater, right? Okay, here we go. It comes down very fast, rejects, right? Still hasn't gone through this. Comes down again, rejects. Now, the momentum is shifting, right? You can see it. The momentum on this in comparison to the momentum on this is lower, right? So as we move forward, it comes down slowly, goes up, but it's still inside this territory. So smashes down again, cannot go through, starts to come down again as a choppy sell, starts off as a choppy buy, comes down again, rejects, and now a strong buy comes up, goes all the way up there, challenges, and goes through all of this, right? We've gone through this little range that's been forming, and we've broken higher, right? Now, the first signs of your bigger buyer coming back. These are the first signs. Starts to test. We compare the momentum. We have an area of interest. We compare the momentum. Momentum is low. It puts in a higher low, as we discussed in one of the variations, because it has gone through some major support equal resistance. So it holds there, puts in a higher low, and basically tries to go higher high, right? Multiple signs of the buyers coming back. But okay, now I personally, after all of this piece has happened, I personally would want the price to come down into these areas. Why? Because logically speaking, people should start to get in on the buy somewhere here with the stop losses below this, right? That's the logic of it. But see what happens. As it choppily comes down again, buys aggressively, then chops all the way down. Cannot go through this buyer that had made a higher high, cannot go through this, and tries another higher high. At this point, you think that the price has left you, right? You cannot get in, and that's okay. Trust me, that's okay. If it does not do what you want to see it do, that's the discipline you should have to hold back and not get in on that at the wrong time, right? I wanted the price to come all the way down to here. I'd wait down here. But once another higher high and higher low has happened, now I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to show you guys something. So bear with me. Okay. So I'm going to go to the replay mode because I'm going to go one time frame lower to show you guys something. Bring in the third time frame, go down to 15 minutes and 3 minutes in this case, and look what's happening here. Take a look at this. In all of this choppy pullback, it's his. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, don't lose track of it. All right, do not lose track of it because we're mixing up too many time frames. It can get a little hectic for you, but do not get confused and do not lose the track of it. Okay, so we know to the left of us, a lot of movement has happened. The buyer is back. It's gone through some major support equals resistance. Now it's choppy coming down. You're marking your seller territories along the way. And in all of this process, this seller hits it, goes all the way down to there. The price starts to hold in this little bit of a range. This is the last bit of sell that happens in here, and the price goes higher high, as we discussed before. It pulls back again, the price goes higher high. Now, by looking at all of this, you should also understand that this is a patience game. You gotta wait to see. You gotta give the price the time to tell you what it's doing. Looks like a lot of data, but as we move forward, we're gonna compress it down to even lower time frames. So, when we bring you down to 15 seconds. But so far, you have to remain patient and watch the price and give it the time it needs. Okay? So the price holds, goes for a higher high. In all of this process, the last sell, it happened down here. This little seller that you see. Let me zoom in a little bit and then I'll zoom out. Let me clear all of these uh, drawings. Let me just draw a line across that seller. There we go. And watch what happens. So the price, it starts to pull back again. It cannot come all the way down. We've missed the trade, we've missed the trade, we've missed the trade. It has gone higher high. Now, for everyone who got late into this trade or got in here with the stop losses below this, just listen to the logic of it. As the price starts to make higher highs, the stop loss starts to move higher. So if this is made a higher high, your stop loss would move from here to here. And what do we want to see next? If it's happening, we are watching it. If it's not happening, we're letting it go. So then it aggressively comes down, turns everyone to the sell side. But where does it come down to? Where the last bit of sell happened. Touches that area, turns around, starts to go higher. If you know what I'm trying to say. If you're confused, we'll discuss this phenomenon over and over again. If you're confused, you talk about it, right? Now, the other phenomena that I was talking about, just keep the test phase in your mind. Why do we need two tests? Because we want to bring in the sellers or the buyers, right? We're not doing a buyer example in here. I'm sorry, a seller example in here. We'll do a seller example in the next video because the video is going to be really long, right? So let's do a. I'm going to talk about another phenomena. Keep in mind the test phase, right? We need two tests because we want the sellers or the buyers to come in. Now apply the same concept into a new structure of higher highs and higher lows. Where's my brush? Okay, here we are. Okay, instead of your bigger player coming back as it's pulling back, instead of reading it like this, as the price makes a higher high, this is the player that is in control now, right? Keep two tests in mind. We're gonna term this as the return of an even bigger time frame. Don't get confused, okay? We're gonna term this as the return of an even bigger time frame. Let's say this is 60, so 240 did this move. And now you want to see two tests of this move up, the pullback. You want to see two pullbacks. Why? For the first pullback, the price, sorry, let's just do it with the path. Okay. For the first pullback, the price is going to put in a higher low and it's going to show you that this buyer is here to stay because it's put in a higher low. As it puts in a higher low, people start to get in on the buys with their stop losses below this. The second pullback that's going to come in, it's going to go for a better price. It's going to entice people to turn to the sell side, support equals resistance broken, but we know that our bigger player is still a buyer. So we wait for that to come back and we repeat the whole process all over again. Cannot emphasize this on this more. We repeat the whole process all over again. And here comes in handy again the fractal nature of the markets. So in the next video, we're going to do multiple examples on this video that we just talked about. We're going to do multiple examples on the test phases, and we're going to do multiple examples on this phenomenon of two pullbacks that we talked about. After sharp move up, you want to see two pullbacks come down, right? So stay tuned for the next video. Cheers.